Good morning, folks. We've got two extremely good articles on solar forcing today. We're getting more news from the great solar storm of May 10th. We've got space weather to watch and an initial report of the largest flare yet from the now departed Big Sunspot group. We'll start with the last 24 hours on our star, and we took 3 M-class solar flares from the big trailing sunspots, 2 filament eruptions off the north. It doesn't appear that any Earth-directed CMEs are in the mix, but we've got good reason to monitor going forward. Here are the flares. You can see the big sunspots are trying to get their flaring going with those flashes. They will be directly facing Earth this week. We're going to be watching that, but also let's take a quick peek at the 2 filaments that erupted on the north. First one likely set off the second one there. Perhaps the biggest story, however, is that the sunspots that made last week's great solar storm are still alive. The CME blasting off the far side here is the biggest yet on coronagraphs, likely indicating a solar flare in excess of X10. 2 massive spots on the far side right now turning around, and we'll be watching for them to do so. While this big CME won't hit Earth, it is directly targeting Venus and Jupiter. Both planets will take impact from that one this week, and if only we had data to study them. Sadly, it will also hit Bepi-Colombo and the solar orbiter. Earth is the yellow dot on the right, and so the far side satellites, Bepi the yellow diamond, and solar orbiter the red diamond, will both take impact. Orbiter should be okay, it's made for this, maybe even have a good image of the blast. But I hope you remember that Bepi is already having problems, and we really need it to get to Mercury after the slingshot to study its magnetic field. We await news on both. Folks, there were auroral sightings deep in Africa last weekend. The Great Solar Storm is the gift that keeps on giving for comparative analysis. 22.5 degrees south latitude in Africa hasn't seen aurora since 1989, which again confirms that this solar storm outdid the great 2003 Halloween solar storms, when it really shouldn't have if Earth's magnetic field wasn't weakening in the ongoing pole shift. Quick look at some new science in the journals here, with new being a relative term. It's about the 300th paper confirming the solar influence over monsoon intensity and position, critical forcing for life-giving regions in the agricultural world. And then we have a study going next level, showing how one of the locations that normally doesn't take the worst of the monsoons does take them during sunspot minimum. It's when the Yangtze River gets the worst flooding events. Great 1-2 punch there in the journals. We greatly appreciate your support. We'll do this all again tomorrow, right here, but right now at 6 a.m. in the new Valley of the Sun. Eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone.